Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'll be going through the FA Cup Finals top 10 of the 21st century. This list was actually pretty hard to do because I'm not going to lie, there's not been that many great FA Cup finals since 2000. FA Cups finals tend on being quite cagey or two teams who just generally, I don't know, the games just never seem to really flow. It's quite a hard list this was, even some of the games aren't going to be great. I've mainly put it more down to occasion really, and the lesser games I've put in there, like the only low scorers, I've put down to the occasion and what the atmosphere was like, and just generally how much it meant to both teams. So, yeah, I'll get on with the list. Number 10, I've got Cardiff versus Portsmouth in 2008. Yeah, this game was obviously in there mainly because it was played between two teams who weren't in the at that point in the so-called top four. So this game was all right. The game itself wasn't great, but watching the occasion was really good. Cardiff were in the Championship at the time. Portsmouth were a mid-table Premier League club. Of course, Portsmouth, as we know, have fallen very far down since this moment. But this wasn't what the best moment the club has had in a very, very long time at this point. And the goal scorer was Carnous, netted in the first half. And yeah, the game was all right. I mean, it was just a good watching two teams really who that looked like the cup final meant a lot too. Both clubs really went out to win this, but in the end, Portsmouth had enough. In what was a very cagey game, it was a 1-0 win for them. Yeah, overall, I'd put this in there just for the occasion, really, and it was two of the lesser teams, which was very good to watch at the time, especially when English football was probably at its peak as well, around to the 2008 time. Number 9, we've got Everton 1, Chelsea 2 in 2009. Now, if there's ever a match where anyone has scored too early, it was this one. Everton took the lead in this game after 25 seconds thanks to Louis Saha, and from that moment on, the game was really dominated by Chelsea. Chelsea had a lot of cup final experience at this point, and this was the point where Chelsea were frequently winning trophies. And of course, they had the big match player in Didier Drogba, who scored in 4 cup finals overall. So Drogba loved a cup final moment, and yeah, he had one here as well. He scored the equaliser. Then Frank Lampard went on to net the winner in the second half. Yeah, this was a decent enough final. Chelsea largely dominated it, but it was quite a good game overall. I mean, there's a lot of good moments in it as well. I mean, Lampard scoring the winner, Malouda had one just after that. Looked like it went in. It was actually, I mean, I don't actually know if it crossed the line or not. It was hard to tell. The goal line technology would have had to solve that one for us, but it wasn't around at this point. But yeah, overall, Chelsea did deserve to win this final, despite this was Everton's last cup final back in 2009. The game was decent enough, I'd say, to warrant a top 10 place. At number 8, we've got Arsenal nil, Man United nil in 2005, but Arsenal won on penalties. Now, of course, putting a nil-nil above other games that did have goals in seems a little bit controversial, but again, the reason I put this in as a nil-nil is because this game was quite interesting. Arsenal and Man United both had really good teams back in 2005, but Man United really dominated this match. Like, they proper had the better chances, and Man United thoroughly after 90 minutes probably deserved to win the game. They had so many chances. Lehmann had made a lot of good saves. There was a great goal line clearance by Freddie Ljungberg. Yeah, this was a game that you wouldn't, between the two teams, you'd think there's quite a big contrast, but Arsenal fought back and they did win the game on penalties where Patrick Vieira scored in what was his last kick for the club to win the shootout. Arsenal were missing Thierry Henry in this game as well through injury, I believe it was, so that did make it. But Arsenal by no means were a one-man team or anything. They had other great players, but Man United largely dominated this game, and to see someone who got dominated win the final was quite interesting, really. And Man United at this point had a rare trophyless season under Sir Alex Ferguson as well. But yeah, Arsenal got the 2005. This was Arsenal's last trophy for 9 years as well, so big moment for them. And yeah, this final overall, well, for a nil-nil, it wasn't a bad game, but it was dominated by United. And the reason it mainly makes this is because Arsenal did win despite being outplayed by their close rivals. At number 7, we've got Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1 from 2012. Again, this wasn't actually a great game of football. This is also the year Chelsea won the Champions League, so they did the Premier League and Champions League and FA Cup double in this season, 2011-2012. Yeah, this was another final where Didier Drogba scored. He scored the second, and Ramirez scored the opener for Chelsea as well. Surprisingly, this game was burst into life by Andy Carroll coming on as a substitute. The game really was quite comfortable for Chelsea. They were 2-0 up. Andy Carroll came on as a sub. And then Andy Carroll really changed this game. He scored a goal. He was causing Chelsea so many problems in this game. Where the defence was all over the place when he came on. And then he had a goal that was, again to this day, I still don't know whether it was over the line, that Petr Cech saved onto the bar. And many Liverpool fans tell you it was over the line. I'm not too sure. Again, goal line technology wasn't around back here, and it would have been there to solve it, but it was very close if it wasn't in. And yeah, this game was kind of spots into life, and I'd say the reason it makes the list is mainly for the fact that it was looking comfortable at one point, but Liverpool made a good game of it at the end, but Chelsea did hold on to win the FA Cup, as they were doing quite regularly at this point. In at number 6, you've got Chelsea 1, Portsmouth 0 in 2010. Now, this game was Premier League winners Chelsea versus a relegated Portsmouth. Portsmouth relegated rock bottom of the table. And they give Chelsea a good game here. In fact, they had a chance to take the lead with a penalty from Kevin Prince Boateng, but he missed. And then 3 minutes later, Didier Drogba scored a free kick. This was... Chelsea hit the crossbar, I think, 4 times in this match. So the Premier League winners did, of course, dominate, as most people expected. But Portsmouth gave it a much better game than they had any right to do. They pushed Chelsea to the end, and of course, both club sides actually missed a penalty in this game, as Frank Lampard also put one wide. But yeah, I mean, this game was a lot closer than a lot of people thought. I thought Chelsea were going to win this game very comfortably at the time, but that didn't happen. And credit to Portsmouth, they went down with a fight in the end. Despite getting horribly relegated, they give Chelsea a really good game here, and that's why it makes the list, because it was a massive contrast in two teams at the time. Portsmouth were on a major decline, while Chelsea were playing probably the best football we've seen them play in terms of entertainment-wise. And yeah, Chelsea only managed to get a 1-0 win. And this was a rather entertaining final, as you didn't know which way it was really going to go at times. In at number 5, we have Arsenal 1 at Liverpool 2 back in 2001. Now, I mainly just put this in the list because it was the Michael Owen final. Arsenal probably should have had 2 penalties in this game. Stephen Henshaw's got away with 2 very obvious handballs, really, looking at it. It's hard to believe how the referee actually missed them. Arsenal was in firm control of this final, absolutely mainly dominated for the first 80 minutes, till Liverpool fought back with 2 last 10-minute goals, and the main cause of that was a very young Michael Owen. Michael Owen won the Ballon d'Or this year and was very much at the top of his game. Yeah, Owen, turned this final around and give Liverpool the win, but it's just hard to believe Arsenal didn't win this match. A bit like the United-Arsenal match a few years later. Arsenal just did everything right in this final, but Liverpool had the last laugh. And it was the Michael Owen final, and that's why it deserves to be up there, because Michael Owen pretty much individually won the final. One of the great individual performances you're ever going to see in a cup final. In at number 4, we have Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1 in 2017 now. Again, this game was a bit interesting. Arsenal just finished 5th in the Premier League and outside the Champions League places for the first time in many years. In fact, in the Arsene Wenger era. And Chelsea had just won the Premier League under Antonio Conte very impressively as well. And Arsenal actually played really well in this final. Actually pretty much played Chelsea off the park and got themselves a 2-1 victory. Arsenal took the lead with Alexis Sanchez. And then Chelsea equalised with Diego Costa, despite having 10 men at this point after Victor Moses was sent off. And then Aaron Ramsey netted his FA Cup final winner twice in a few years. But this was, interesting, because a lot of people thought Chelsea were going to win this game, including myself, really, quite easily. But that didn't happen, and Arsenal played very, very well. And they've still remained as the record FA Cup, the record amounts of wins in the FA Cup, thanks to this match. But yeah, this was just quite the surprise factor. And the game was quite entertaining. One of the more entertaining cup finals, really, it was. But mainly, largely, Arsenal were much the better team in this game, which was just quite surprising, which is why I'd put it up there. And it was more entertaining than other cup finals we have seen. In at number 3, I've got Manchester City 0, Wigan 1 in 2013. Now, this game is purely up there just for the shock factor. As entertainment, it wasn't the best cup final. I mean, there wasn't really a lot in it. Man City just played really poor, completely underperformed. And Wigan Athletic played very well and were absolutely brilliant. And one of the standout performers was Callum McManaman, who his career hasn't really took off since this moment, disappointingly, because when everyone saw him this day, they really thought he had a big future ahead of him. But yeah, McManaman played fantastic, and the winner was scored by Ben Watson in the 89th minute, I believe it was. Yeah, what a story. Wigan, who were just about to get relegated about a week later by Arsenal. They beat Man City, who were the former Premier League champions, but 1-0. It was a brilliant story. One of the biggest cup final upsets, especially of the FA Cup, you're ever going to see. And it just gives you a great heartfelt moment, really, for Wigan, and all the fact they've been in the Premier League so long at this point, by staying up with heart warming survivals, basically, the amount of times they did manage to sneak a survival. But yeah, Wigan got the FA Cup win. And yeah, I mainly put this up there because due to the fact it was a massive upset. The game certainly wasn't a classic, but the upset and the fact it just, everyone was so happy when Wigan won. Anyone who wasn't a Man City fan was probably cheering when Ben Watson scored that header. And Pablo Zabaleta did get sent off, and Man City, which did help this, but still, take nothing away. Wigan thoroughly deserved to win this match. Number 2, Arsenal 3, Hull City 2 after extra time in 2014. Entertainment-wise, this is one of two very good finals we've seen in the 21st century. Hull City were 2-0 up in this match in the first 10 minutes, and at one point you're actually starting to think, oh, Hull City going to run away with this final and absolutely destroy, because Hull City very nearly went 3-0 up if it wasn't for a Kieran Gibbs goal line clearance. Yeah, this game was... Hull City just absolutely came out the blocks and were all over Arsenal, really, but a Santi Cazorla free kick did turn it back in their favour in the 16th minute, and then Koscielny's second half equaliser, and then Aaron Ramsey in extra time netted his FA Cup final winner. Yeah, as far as entertainment goes, this was very good. It's a shame it didn't go to penalties in a way because, Arsenal were pegged it back, and the game just felt like it had penalties in it, really, but Arsenal came back into it, won the match 3-2. This was just a very entertaining game from start to finish, really. It was an enthralling cup final, definitely for me the best, one of the best we've seen for a long time. Really enjoyed watching this one. And number 1, 2006, Liverpool 3, West Ham 3, but Liverpool win 3-1 on penalties. Yeah, what a match this was. This game had virtually everything. By far the best cup final of the 21st century. I think this game and Arsenal Hull are the only ones really that have been great watches, which is disappointing to say, but as far as in football standard goes, these two matches were close and they were just great watches. West Ham, who had a great season in the Premier League, finished 8th, I believe it was, but coming into this final, Liverpool had finished 3rd. And they'd won the Champions League the year before as well, actually, in a similar sort of way. West Ham were 2-0 up thanks to an own goal from Jamie Carragher and a Dean Ashton's goal in the first half. Cisse pulled one back before half-time before Gerrard scored. Gerrard scored a great equaliser. Then Paul Konchesky cross-come shot also put West Ham shockingly back in the lead. Before Steven Gerrard scored one of, if not the best FA Cup final goal we're ever going to see to equalise. Took the game to penalties and then Liverpool won. Anton Ferdinand missed the vital penalty. Yeah, this game had virtually everything. It was such a good game and it was twists and it was turns and Liverpool produced another fantastic cup final, their second in 2 years. And yeah, this was a game that's going to take some beating as far as FA Cup finals go. Really, really enjoyed this one. And yeah, this was an easy number 1 on the list, really. But yeah, great cup final. So yeah, overall, that's my list. Please like, share and subscribe. Yeah, and hopefully you enjoyed the videos. If there's anything you'd change, please let us know in the comments below. And yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.